The first thing everyone noticed about Elara was her beauty. It arrived before she did, whispered through rooms, carried on sighs and glances. Her hair fell in perfect waves. Her smile seemed practiced by angels, and when she entered a hall, conversations bent toward her like flowers toward the sun. People said she was born lucky, as if luck were stitched into her skin. The second daughter, Maren, learned early to stand half a step behind. Maren was not ugly. No one ever said that outright. They said other things instead, plain, quiet, sensible. The kind of girl who faded into the background of paintings meant to celebrate someone else. When she laughed, she covered her mouth. When she walked, she kept her eyes down. She learned how to take up less space. Because space, she was taught, belonged to Elara. Their father loved them both, in the way men love what they believe they understand. He loved Elara with pride and Maren with responsibility. When guests came, he showed Elara off. When work needed doing, he called for Maren. Neither of them complained. One did not need to. The other did not dare. The Duke of Valenmoor arrived in early spring, when the estate smelled of wet earth and new beginnings. His carriage rolled through the gates like a promise wrapped in iron and silk. Servants straightened. The house seemed to inhale, and their father's voice sharpened with anticipation. A duke did not come without purpose. Maren watched from the staircase as he entered the drawing room. He was younger than she expected, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair touched by silver at the temples. His eyes were steady, observant, missing nothing. Not the fine tapestries, not the careful posture of their father, not the way Elara's presence shifted the air. Introductions were made. Elara smiled, flawless and bright. The Duke inclined his head politely, his gaze lingering only a moment longer than necessary. Maren felt the familiar tightening in her chest, the quiet knowledge of how this would unfold. Later that night, their father called them into his study. The fire crackled. Shadows danced on the walls. "This is an opportunity," he said, fingers steepled. "The Duke is looking for a wife. Valenmoor is old money, powerful land. This could secure everything." Elara's eyes sparkled. Maren's stomach sank. Her father turned to the Duke, who sat near the fire, silent. "Take the pretty one," he said with a small laugh, as if the matter were already settled. The words struck Maren like a physical blow. Take the pretty one, as if they were objects on a shelf, as if the choice were obvious. Elara flushed, pleased and embarrassed all at once. The Duke did not respond immediately. He looked at Elara, then at Maren. "May I speak with them?" he asked calmly. "Individually." Their father blinked, surprised but agreed. Elara went first. She emerged half an hour later, glowing, confidence blooming in every movement. She avoided Maren's eyes. Then it was Maren's turn. She entered the study with her hands clasped tightly in front of her. The Duke gestured for her to sit. She did, perching on the edge of the chair. "You seem uncomfortable," he said. "I'm not used to being chosen," she replied honestly. Something in his expression softened. "Then let us not pretend this is a choice yet. Tell me about yourself." She hesitated. No one ever asked. "I read," she said finally. "I like old books. I help manage the estate accounts. I walk in the orchard when I can." He nodded. "And what do you want?" The question stunned her. Her throat tightened. "I don't know if that matters." "It matters to me." Maren took a breath that felt like standing at the edge of something dangerous. "I want a life where I'm not constantly apologizing for existing." Silence filled the room, heavy and real. When she left, her legs trembled. The next morning, the decision was announced. The Duke chose Maren. The house erupted. Elara stared as if struck. Their father's face hardened, disbelief quickly turning to anger. Servants whispered. No one understood. Maren understood least of all. She stood in the courtyard as the Duke approached her, the reality pressing down on her chest until it was hard to breathe. "You made a mistake," she said quietly. "My sister." "Your sister is beautiful," he said. "But beauty is not the same as depth. I have lived long enough to know the difference." Her father confronted the Duke openly. "You insult my family," he snapped. "You pass over the jewel for the stone." The Duke met his gaze without flinching. "Sometimes the stone holds the stronger foundation." Those words followed Maren for years. Valenmoor was vast and cold when she first arrived, its halls echoing with history. She felt like an intruder in silk dresses that still felt foreign against her skin. The Duke, now her husband, was patient, never pushing, never demanding. He listened. He noticed. At first, she waited for disappointment. For the moment, he would realize what everyone else always had. It never came. Instead, challenges arrived. The land suffered a poor harvest. A neighboring lord disputed borders. Whispers spread that the Duke had chosen poorly, that his wife lacked charm, that he had settled. One night after a brutal council meeting, Maren found him alone in the library, staring into the fire. "You could have had someone easier," she said softly. "Someone admired." He looked at her, tired but steady. "I did not want easy. I wanted true." She swallowed. "What if I fail you?" "Then we fail together," he replied, "and try again." It was the first time she cried in his presence, not from shame but from release. Years passed. Maren learned the land, the people, the weight of decisions. She spoke at councils, quietly at first, then with growing confidence. She remembered names, stories, losses. The people noticed. Respect followed, slow but genuine. Elara visited once, years later. Her beauty remained, but something in her eyes had dulled. They walked the gardens together, the past between them like an old scar. "I hated you," Elara admitted, "for a long time." Maren nodded. "I know. And then I envied you," Elara continued. "Not because of the title, because he sees you." Maren took her sister's hand. "You deserve that too." On a cold winter morning, the Duke fell ill. The illness moved fast, ruthless. Maren sat by his bed, holding his hand, feeling the slow weakening of the man who had chosen her when no one else would. "You changed this place," he whispered. "Promise me you won't forget who you were." "I won't," she said, tears slipping free. "I was never invisible. I was just unseen." When he died, the land mourned. At his funeral, their father stood among the crowd, older now, smaller. When Maren passed him, he bowed his head. No apology came. None was needed. That night, Maren stood alone on the balcony of Valenmoor, the wind cold against her face. She thought of the girl who learned to take up less space. She thought of the words spoken so carelessly, "Take the pretty one." The world had taught her that worth was something you wore. Life had taught her otherwise. She straightened her shoulders and looked out over the land she now protected, not because she was chosen for her beauty, but because she was chosen for her truth. And this time she chose herself.